Hello, Jacqueline here. Good evening or good day whenever you're checking this video out. Today, I want to talk about one area of our lives that is so worth exploring. And then I want to talk about two reasons that we typically try to avoid it. My name is Jacqueline. I'm an author and a coach, and I'm super passionate about helping others shift from paralyzed to passionate in their lives. And one of the ways that I love to do this is through exploring the lens of our love lives. So before I get into like exactly what the area is of our life that's really worth going into, I just want to talk briefly about why I'm so passionate about it. So in 2018, I published my first book. Some of you that have been subscribed with me for a while know I published a book called I Touch Myself, and I'm super excited about it. I'm so passionate about sexuality and expressing ourselves sensually and my relationship to desire. And I was like so excited to put this book into the world about my journey and just how much it made a difference for me. And I was super proud of myself, and that's part of the reason I created and really started developing my YouTube channel. But part of what happened after I published that book, which really like transformed my life, was that I had certain people in my life and in my family that decided once I published the book that they weren't able to support me, and I had some relationships that like really changed forms, and we lost contact for a while. And what that forced me to do was like really start to get to know myself better and understand why I was stuck. Because what happened was when I didn't have that specific approval from certain family members, little by little, I stopped doing all the things, right? Like I actually, with my YouTube channel, I reached 1 million views, and then I like stopped recording videos, and it was like I could not get myself to restart. It wasn't like I needed more techniques or to understand what to do or just to be willing to continue. It was so much more than that. It was like I couldn't get myself to do it. And I think that a lot of us can relate to those times where it's like we want to move forward. There's a part of us that's like, I do want to move forward, but there's also another part of it that's like, I can't do this. And so if you're in that spot where you're like, I really want to get out of this, like I hate feeling this stuck, this is why I'm going to say that this is so important, because for me that time in 2018 up until now, exploring this area of my life was the thing that like, oh my gosh, started to unlock everything for me. So you might be guessing already what this area might be. And actually, just before I share this area with you as well, I will say, if you enjoy what I'm about to say, I do have a course that I'm offering right now called Paralyzed to Passionate, where I really unpack a bit more part of what I'm going to share and go deeper in it. And it's modules, but also has some live components where you can really get some support with this. So there'll be a link in the description below if this content is resonating and you really want some additional support with it. So let's get right into it. So, what is this area of life where it can make such a difference and really help getting us stuck? Well, it is actually getting to know the little us. And I like to call our younger selves the little us. But basically, the parts of ourselves that came before the adult us that were impacted by our life. And this is so powerful because we all, right? This is for every single one of us. We all have experiences that we take on and take in as traumatic. And that might seem like a really big word. Like, I think a lot of people hear that T word and they're like, oh, I don't want to think about that. But the truth is that trauma isn't just like, it isn't just physical trauma or like really intense things. Trauma, I've heard some great definitions for this, and part of what I've incorporated at is basically trauma. We take something on as traumatic when we have a lack of choice and an ability to get our needs met at a time when we really want to. It's like we're not resourced enough, or what we need isn't available to ask for what we need. And we perceive that as as really hard. And so that's the kind of stuff that we can still register as traumatic. And we all have those kinds of experiences. So getting to know that and understand that and heal those parts of ourselves, I'm telling you, I am so passionate about it because I hear from people I work with all the time that diving into this stuff in the right context with the right person can do like amazing things. Like more like I've had people tell me multiple times that diving into this kind of work does more than like years and years of therapy. And obviously, you could do this kind of work with the right therapist. But I'm saying this as an example because diving in the proper context can create massive, tremendous, beautiful change in our lives. So, this is the area of life I'm saying get some support around, dive into this. But what I want to do is I want to talk about one, how we minimize our past. And I want to talk about two reasons we avoid it. Because if you're hearing me talking right now and you're like, I hear you. I get it. Like, I mean, maybe there's some value in my past, but you're also like, but I don't want to go there. Hang on with me for a second. Listen to these two next parts. So, one of the things I want to share with is how we minimize our past. And so often this shows up by saying things like, well, I should be grateful because things weren't so bad. Like other people had it harder than I did or worse than I did. So I should be grateful. And what I want to say to that is you can have tremendous gratitude for your past and your parents and everything you learned. And you can 100% know and recognize that part of that childhood and the impact was that it had experiences that felt bad for you. And so you don't take away the good by acknowledging the things that you perceived as bad and hard. So I do want you to know that right off the bat that you have permission to not minimize what was hard for you and to get the support to heal it. Even if you know that your parents and caretakers were doing their best, which they all are. I mean, I believe really that all of our parents, even though they might not be um, doing everything perfect. They are doing everything they do out of love in the best form and way they know how to do it. So know that you are not saying that your parents are bad by being willing to explore your past, your caretakers as well. Like anybody that kind of was a big influence in caring for you when you're younger. You're not saying those people are bad by being willing to explore that. So there's two pieces, these two other pieces I want to explore about why we avoid our past and why those are actually reasons to dive into it. One is that, and this is kind of tied into how I was talking about how we minimize it, but I want to point this out a little bit separately that what happens when we go into our past is a lot of times we think that if we dive into exploring our past and how it impacted us, we think that we are no longer loyal, right? Like in some way that exploring our past and the ways that our families maybe acted imperfectly or some of the failures we might have had, that means we would be disloyal. And what I want to let you know with this as well is we're actually helping to heal our families and our family legacy by being willing to explore the mistakes and what we did that didn't go so well. Because when we're willing to explore it, that's when we can actually set ourselves free from it and help our family and the next generations that we're creating to like loosen that grip and to let it go. So if you have any of that holding you back on minimizing or thinking that you might not be loyal, I encourage you to feel permission to let some of that go and realize that by being willing to explore your past, you're actually helping to heal your legacy and create a new one moving forward. So I want you to remind you of that. The other thing that I hear and see with people is they think that if they go into their past that they won't be able to handle it or that like almost like there's like this perception that like maybe I won't make it out alive, or maybe I'll die. And there's actually a mentor that I've done a workshop with who I love so much, Maston Kipp. One of the things he says that I love is that if we could survive the trauma, we can survive the healing of it. And I love that so much. And it's so important to remember that when we go into getting support to heal, which it's very amazing and important, I think, to do to get others to help us support and heal in this area. But what we want to remember is that when we are healing from our past, we are now doing it as adults, right? If you're watching this video and you're in your adult years, like, and we're looking back to those past moments, we're doing it now as adult us in present day. And that's so important to remember because we're no longer that child that was dependent and their brain was still developing and they just didn't have those same resources that we have today as the adult us. And so when we go into a healing journey, really, and start to get to know and heal those parts of ourselves, it is so important to remember, oh, like, I'm adult me doing this now, right? I'm no longer that little girl or that little boy. I have more resources, I have more insights, I have more support now. And so when we can go into it with that perspective, it can really, really help us navigate it or at least trust ourselves going into the process. So, if you are interested, intrigued by this, wanting to understand more, like how you could go about this, how you can start to set a foundation for healing through getting to know those younger parts of you, this is where I'd love to give you that invitation to join me for Paralyzed to Passionate. Again, the link is in the description below, but there'll be 6 modules where we're going to dive into redefining our legacy of love. We're going to be talking about accessing unconditional love, exploring why we control, contribution, belonging. And there's going to be a live group coaching call during that, as well as ongoing monthly calls where we're going to be going into the content. Because to do this healing work, it definitely takes some time. And so the idea is that this support will be ongoing for you to keep exploring this. And of course, whether or not you do this course, if you are interested in exploring your past, get support to do it. You do not have to do this alone. You are this adult you now who can get resources in whole new ways. So really, really remember that. And I encourage you to, if you're intrigued by this, to follow that intrigue. Because I'm sure you can tell from my passion and excitement that there is so, so, so much amazing gold and self discovery and freedom and sense of inner trust and resilience that can be built by healing and getting to know that little you. So I'm wishing you an amazing day. I'm going to be posting a few more lives this week and I'll be sharing more content. So if there's things that you are and have enjoyed from this and you're wanting to learn more, you have follow-up questions, feel free to leave those in the comments below and I can use that for inspiration for future videos. Wishing you an amazing night, amazing day wherever you are, whatever time it is, and I'll see you in the next video.